Hello, welcome at the first digital edition of the graduation day of StartLife Accelerate, and welcome in the StartLife community. We have 450 participants to celebrate the finals of a 3-month intensive accelerator program. 9 startups have been challenged and accelerated and will present themselves today for you. But let's first see who we have in the audience. We have a poll for you. So make yourself known. Are you a startup? Are you a scale-up, an investor, or a corporate? Please let us know. Hit the button. And in the meantime, I will lead you through the program. So today we will have a lot of startup pitches. We'll kick off with 5 startup pitches. In between, we will have a discussion. Then we get back to 4 more startup pitches. Then we'll have an alumni update and a closing. It will be an exciting program. This is our first time in a digital broadcast, so we're very excited. So let's have a look at the result of the poll. Cool, a lot of investors. That's good news for the entrepreneurs. Startups, scale-ups, corporates, everybody's here. That's what we like to see. Excellent. So for the second poll, we like to know, is this your first time at the StartLife graduation day? Yes or no? Typically, we are able to host around 100 to 200 people in our premises, so COVID-19 has its advantages. So we are very excited to have 450 people here. Look at that. More than half of them have been visiting a graduation day before. You loved it, didn't you? So you're back. Thank you. After the pitches, we will give the community the opportunity to mingle in our virtual network lounge. Many of you already activated your profile and know exactly what to do and also know exactly who they want to meet. And others already have reserved their seats at the startup roundtable with one of the 9 startups. So be sure to tap into that virtual network lounge. It has functionalities that you have never seen before, so don't miss out on that. StartLife is running 2 cohorts per year, and from agri-food startups from all over Europe. This is a very intensive and rewarding routine. We could never have done this without the help of our partners, our founders, our program partners, and our corporate partners. Together, they provide access to market, to access to capital, to talent, to knowledge. And all this together makes it possible for the startups to truly accelerate their business in only 3 months. And the grand challenges of this earth, of course, demand that we act and think global. Though StartLife is rooted in the Food Valley ecosystem on Wageningen campus, where the founders that we support can benefit with very strong ties with the #1 agri-food university in the world. The founders can benefit with our relationships with corporates and investors. And these funds, of course, fuel the output of our programs. But more about that later on. For now, I would like to give the word to Loet Rammelsberg. Loet is the Chief in Command for StartLife Accelerate program, and he will guide you through the startup pitches.
All right, thanks Jan, thanks a lot. And looking forward to the pitches as well. But before we get started, I'd like to elaborate a little bit on what we have actually done over the past 3 months. So the core of the program is really to validate the most critical assumptions of those businesses that came into our accelerator program and to prepare them to raise funds. And over the last 3 months, we have Zoomed, teamed, whereby for over 100 hours with the best trainers and mentors in the industry to prepare these startups to get going. But training is not enough. We have seen that actually food and ag is a complex value chain. And if you don't have partners to get to the market, it's almost impossible to succeed. So that's why we are really proud and happy to be located on the Wageningen campus in the center of the Food Valley. And we have been able, together with these partners, to really support our startups and get them connected. Just to give an example, we organized speed dates with business developers of the university, Wageningen University and Research. We hosted over 100 one-on-one side events with corporate partners, with program partners. All this to get our startups in the best shape possible for today, right? So now we move on to the pitches, as we don't want you to wait any longer. But before doing so, I'd like to elaborate a little bit on some practical notes. So it would be great, Jan, if you can go to the next slide and even the next slide. Also this and even the next slide.
Oh my goodness.
As this is the first time for us in this virtual space, we're also learning on the job. Some practicalities. We have a 1-minute pitch upcoming, and there's a 3 minutes discussion afterwards. This is there's a live chat, as you can see on your right in the screen, where you're most welcome to put in any question that you might have to the startups. These questions, of course, well, because we are talking right now, we can't anticipate on the questions, but we have 4 very experienced moderators who are in the StartLife team who will join us and will moderate and pick out the best questions to pose them to the startups. So please, if you have an interesting question, if you're wondering how the technology works, how they want to get to the market, please put it in the live chat and we will make sure that we answer the question. In case there's no opportunity to answer your question live, we will make sure to connect afterwards. That can be either done in the Startup Roundtable after this live event, or separately you can just contact the startup bilateral and get going. All right, without further ado, I would like to move on to the first pitch. And Wilco, are you in the house?
Yes, I am, Loet, yes.
Great. All right, so moving to Wilco. Wilco, I heard you were actually working on taste in water. And the first time I thought, oh, that must be a beverage. But apparently you mean something else, right?
Yes, but basically it's a beverage, but for indoor plants.
All right, please get started with your 1-minute pitch.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Wilco. I'm working at CE Line. Top athletes, such as a marathon runner, uses very specific nutrition to get to the best results. Tomato plants in indoor farms also need very specific nutrition to get to their best results. And nowadays, this specific nutrition is not always available. With the saline technology, we combine real-time nutrient measurements with individual dosing instruments, we are able to control the irrigation water to the optimal nutrition level for the tomato plants. With that, the tomato plants will have an increase of 5% yield, a better and ensure quality of crops, and use less resources. We are looking for 1.5 million to help saline technology into the greenhouse sector to make sure that the tomato plants will be the best athletes.
Great pitch, Wilco. Thanks a lot. So before moving on, I'd like to introduce my colleague Laura Thiessen, who is the operations director at StartLife.
Hi.
And do you have a question for Wilco, Laura?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for that great pitch, Wilco. Great time management. We're going to move to the first question. You've been developing this system, you've been testing it, but when can growers expect to install it in their greenhouse?
Good question. What we currently have is one prototype, and this is operating now in the research facility at the Wageningen University. With 1.5 million, we are going to make the system commercially available. And with that, we hope that we can present the greenhouses with such a measurement system, controlling system, within 1.5 years.
All right. Great. So Wilco, does your system actually, can you prove that your system benefits to the yield in the greenhouse?
Of course. Basically, the idea is that with optimal nutrition, we are going to measure the nutrition and change the irrigation water to the optimal levels, but that the plants with this optimal nutrition have more energy in itself to use for the production of the tomato plants. This is now validated at the research facility of Wageningen University.
Great, thanks a lot for that answer, Wilco. I don't see any questions coming up on the chat yet, so please keep those questions coming in so we can pose them to the startups. Let me just raise another question to you. In the Netherlands, not so many greenhouses new greenhouses are being built, Wilco. So how compatible is your system to combine with existing systems?
Yeah, very good question. Of course, it's very interesting with a new to build farm. And yes, we see that more abroad than in the Netherlands. But the current irrigation system, we can, for greenhouses, we can hook on our measurement system to that. And that already brings added value for the greenhouses. They cannot steer it directly every hour, but they can steer on a daily basis.
Great, great. So Wilco, 1.5 million sounds like a lot of money, but I guess you will be able to spend it quite soon. How are you actually going to spend it if you raise these 1.5 million?
Yeah, very good question. Yes, we're going to spend it. We need it for improving the several elements of the measurement system. And with that, we need just manpower and to make it work, to be sure that the system will be operational in field within 1.5 years.
All right, thanks a lot.
Great, thanks, Wilco. I do see questions coming in now through the chat. So the first question is from Mark van Vught. What is Sea-Line looking for in an investor?
Yeah, very good question. Of course, money first. The second one, and I think maybe more interesting, is a strategic partner who knows the greenhouse sector or the indoor farming sector, and also knows the technology transfer into the market. That will be preferred.
Right. Clear. Yeah, another question from the chat, because I see a lot of stuff coming in right now. 2 questions on tomatoes. The first one, why focus on tomatoes first? That's from Tan May. And another question from Angelique. Is it only available for tomatoes or also for other crops? Wilco.
Yeah, good one. It is available for all crops, even flowers. But as a starting point, we see, and we know that from the studies from Wageningen University, that tomato plants are really needing an optimal nutrition level several times a day. So that's the main crop where the fastest added value for the grower will be. And yes, it will be available for every greenhouse, whichever uses water to grow plants or crops.
So Wilco, are you also thinking outside, let's say, outside the box, but in this case, outside the greenhouse? Like, do you envision other markets than just the greenhouse? Because I can imagine there's other places where you have nutrients coming in.
Yeah, very good one. The measurement technology is based on nutrients, but we can measure more components. The greenhouse sector is the most relevant one at this point, so our focus will be there. But in the future, I see our technology also in power plants, wastewater treatment centers, and perhaps bioplastic production sites.
Great, so much more applications coming up. Great, thanks a lot, Wilco. I think we have to wrap up. Do stay with us so our audience can connect with you for a virtual drink afterwards. And we're going to move on to the next one.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to the next one, which is Mytronics. Sohail, are you with us?
Yes, hi guys, I'm here.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great. Hey, I understood that you were in another accelerator program before you joined ours. So, of course, we would love to know, what did you get out of our program?
Yes, actually, we have been in another accelerator program where we started our company, but StartLife has helped us to really focus on the sector we are focusing on. We are a tech company and we have a knowledge of tech in artificial intelligence, but we needed a right partner to connect our solution to the right audience. That's why StartLife has helped us to accelerate on sharpening our value proposition, but also we had a successful pilot during the StartLife. So that is a very good news in the COVID-19 situation. But we are very glad to connect to the right stakeholders for our solution.
Thanks, Sohail. Thanks. So please take it away, as I'd like to say, on your 1-minute pitch.
Sure. Hi, I'm Sohail. I'm CEO and founder of Mytronics. You might know the astonishing number of food waste globally. 1/3 of the food is wasted globally. And over 50% of those waste never reaches the kitchen. That means that imagine you harvest 100 strawberries, 50 of them never reaches the consumer. The reason behind that is the subjective quality and assessment that is currently done with human labor, and because of the limited visual of the human labor, there are lots of different opinion. Imagine a strawberry. One person is saying it's good, it's sweet. The other saying it's less sweet. But we have developed a system that grades internal and external characteristic of every fruit and vegetable you can imagine in a consistent way. And it has a self-grading proprietary software algorithm that creates the accuracy to the 100% almost, and it scans the whole batch in 0.2 seconds. That helps to have the right and stable grading every single time.
Wow.
And we are currently piloting our system, and we are interested to talk to investors. We are raising 700K of seed investment money, which help us to develop a fully commercial product in 1.5 years. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Sohail. That was just a little bit over 1 minute, but I wanted to ask indeed if you've already tested your product in real life. How far are you with your development? But maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on, like, do you grade every type of vegetable or fruit? Like, just like Wilco is focusing on tomatoes first. Which crop are you targeting first?
Currently, we are targeting a certain type of fruits and vegetable, which gives us a ability to test the others in the future, because we have to focus right now in a launching customer which does the logistic. We are testing passion fruit, avocado, paprika, apple, pear, and we are having a different type of a benchmark in order to find out, comparing to the current process, what would be the saving on the food waste.
Great, great.
Fantastic, Sohail. We have a question on the chat from Wolfgang. How fast can your system do the grading?
We are using the state-of-the-art GPUs, which is a low cost, and comparing to integration of our proprietary algorithm, we have benchmark 0.2 seconds per batch of item.
Okay, and a follow-up question to that from Connie Bowen. Where do you see yourself in the competitive landscape, Sohail? There are a wide variety of grading tools out there. So what's your USP?
We believe that our self-learning algorithm that is capable of grading different type of fruits and vegetables is one. But we also know that there are lots of small and medium-sized companies who doesn't have huge upfront costs, doesn't have the ability to have a huge upfront investment to invest in those mechanical machines. But nevertheless, our system is modular and flexible. That means it will integrate on existing conveyor belt and the set plant process setup of our customers. So we think we are positioning ourselves in this niche sector of the food market.
Okay, and let's take another one, Lut, from Marco Snickers. Where would your system sit in the food chain?
We are currently focusing on greenhouse and post-harvesting, because we think that monitoring starts from greenhouse. So we have the flexibility of our software that can run also on edge devices. So we are now also piloting a tomato greenhouse case, and next to that is a post harvesting where it needs to be inspected and predicted when the fruit can go on the supermarket at what time of the day. So basically, we are trying to predict the quality and also predict when the food is going to waste in the future.
Great. I think a solution with a lot of impact, and I'm sure you will be able to raise the necessary investments. Laura, can we move on to the next, or do we have a last burning question from the audience?
No, let's move on.
All right. So moving on to the next pitch, which is all about a decentralized approach to make the insect proteins available to livestock management. So Jason, are you here?
Yes,
Are you
I'm
with
here.
us? All right, great. Welcome, Jason. And please take it away.
Okay, yeah. Hello, my name is Jason. I'm the co-founder and director of Insectocycle. And our vision is that insect farming is agricultural instead of industrial. We as Insectocycle see a huge opportunity to convert farms into insect farms. We provide farmers with a new business case. Insectocycle will become the full service provider for the insect supply chain, similar to already what's happening in the poultry industry and the dairy sector. We are aware that we cannot do this alone, so we need to create a supply chain together with stakeholders. Last year, we raised already 1 million euros to build our R&D facility, where other stakeholders are able to join. The next step is to build a commercial pilot plant, and we need to expand our team. And therefore, also, we are looking for a senior business developer who knows the agri-food sector inside out. That's what I want to tell you. And if you have more questions, please go to our round table, and I can tell you more about the company. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Jason. You mentioned you received an investment of about €1 million, and you're going to build your R&D facility in the south of Holland. So tell us about that initiative, and tell us about which partners you're now actively looking for to collaborate with.
Yeah. So it was already 2 years ago that we raising the money, and last year we received the grant, and we are operational since the beginning of this year. And the idea is that there's every step of the supply chain is there. So we have breeding, we have rearing, we have processing there, and we know that there are like a lot of stakeholders or other parties who want to be involved and want to innovate in this sector. So, for example, farmers who wants to be an insect farmer, but also feeding companies are there who want to build a special insect feed with us, or with the insects they want to create insect meal or fish meal with it. So there's a variety of people and stakeholders who are involved in this project.
Yeah. So Jason, I come to understand that you need eggs in order to rear insects, right? So I'm wondering, where do you source your eggs from?
We have our own breeding line now, and also I can tell you that last week we received funding for a breeding program. So that is we didn't tell you in the news, but so we want to do it ourselves. So we are providing the eggs to the insect farmers.
All right, thanks.
That's the idea.
Great. A question from the chat, Jason, from Andy Gardiner. There are a lot of insect businesses at the moment. So what is it that makes you different?
What we see now in the industry, I call it an industry because most insect companies are really looking at it in an industrial way. So they're doing everything on one roof. They're doing the breeding, the rearing, the processing, and also even making an end product out of it. They do everything on one roof. And if you look at normal, what I already told you, normal farming, it is really like in the chain, and everything is just separated by different companies. And I think when we want to really grow and produce volume, I think we also have to go that direction. And that's unique about our
And let's take another question from the chat from Vincent Tseng. Hi, Jason. He says, what is the fundamental advantage of treating insects as agricultural versus industrial products?
Insects are just livestock, so like chickens and pigs. And you cannot really, if you really look at it in an industrial way, everything has to be optimized and has to be right on, spot on every time. And I think, and also what we see now in our R&D facility, the insects are livestock, so their biology, you cannot really predict their behavior, or not really in that small confidence interval. So that's it, actually, why I think it is agricultural, because you need really these hands to work with instead of machines.
Yeah, we'll have one. We'll take one more question from the chat for you, Jason, from Jonathan. What is the business model of your company? What is the upside that you offer to farmers?
Yeah. So what we do is bringing the eggs or breeding material to the farmers, and also we will give them guarantees that we will buy their produce. So then we will make with a bigger, so a central unit, we will make insect meal and we can sell it to the feed industry.
Right.
Great.
Thanks a lot, Jason. Thanks a lot for your answers. And do stay with us so you can meet our audience in the virtual meeting lounge afterwards or in one of the round tables. Okay, we're moving on to something totally different, natural pond. Very timely. I would actually love to take a dive in a natural pond right now. But Rikje, let's listen to you first. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello?
Great. We have a good connection with you. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. Very relevant this time of the year for our international listeners. We do have the hottest day of the year until now in the Netherlands right now. So I think your solution against algae is quite topical. So go for it, Rikje.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rikje van der Weert, one of the founders of Natural Pond. Blue-green algae are a major problem in the Netherlands and worldwide. During blooms, blue-green algae form smelling floating layers and produce toxins. This threatens public health and is an eyesore in living and working environment. Natural Pond introduces a sustainable solution to this problem. It is distributed evenly in the water, and after that the toxic blue-green algae disappears. Its curative effect was proven experimentally. Last year, we did a successful field test, and this and next year, we will show the effectiveness of natural ponds under varying conditions. And this will provide a firm basis to access the Dutch and international market. And we are searching for opportunities and partners for doing pilots with our product. Thank you for your attention.
That's a great pitch, Rikje. Thank you very much. I was just wondering, if you dose your, let's say, a solution into the water, is it safe for wildlife and also for humans? Is there any problems that might occur?
No, it is really safe for humans. You can swim after treatment, it's no problem. And for wildlife, we didn't research that thoroughly, but in our experiments in mini enclosures, we found no evidence for negative effect on other organisms. Our solution affected the blue-green algae, but not the non-toxic green algae. And in fact, we observed some positive effects on some other organisms as well. So, and also because of the ingredients of our product, there's no reason to expect a negative effect.
Great, thank you.
So, Rikje, can you comment on the competition in your field? I think a commonly used solution right now is hydrogen peroxide. So, how does your solution stand out?
Yes, our solution has a lot of advantages over other solutions. It is a sustainable solution. It's very easy in use. And so that is an advantage over hydrogen peroxide, because there you need a kind of boat to put it in the water, and it should be very controlled. And it's also it's not easy in use, the hydrogen peroxide, because you need there are, how do you say it? It should be safe, and there are a lot of safety restrictions there.
Perfect.
And so in our product, we don't have that problem.
Okay, Rikje. Another question. Vincent is wondering what happens to the algae. So what do the algae decompose in?
Yeah, they're dying, but that's happening. Yeah.
So no negative effects of dying algae in your water?
No.
All right. So Rikje, let's talk a little bit about business. So who is your client? Who are you selling your product to? Because I can imagine, I mean, the waters that we swim in, of course, are from let's say, individual persons, but also from municipalities, from governments. Like, who are you targeting right now?
Yeah, at the moment, as a beachhead, we have the water managers of the in the Netherlands. So that's where we want to start, because they are very important players in the market, and if they are positive with our solution, then we can easily access the whole Dutch market we expect. So we could start with private ponds, etc. But then you have a problem to reach the rest of the market. So we start not the easiest way, but I think we start the best way. And also we think that if we start with the water managers, if we are sure of that international the access to the international market will be also a lot easier.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Rikke. I think we have to move on. And thanks a lot. So moving on to actually the cause of natural occurring algae, which is of course the sun. Moving on to the sun. Sadiq, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great, great. Actually, Sadiq, I've heard from somebody. Can you elaborate a little bit how you actually came up with the idea for Par Plus? I've heard you were cycling through the Westland or something.
Yeah, that's true. It's a funny story. So I was working as a photoluminescent scientist for 4 years before now, and I made a sample and it was not very useful, so I put it in a drawer of the lab and didn't touch it for 1.5 years. And then I was cycling through the Westland past all these greenhouses, and at that moment it just came to me, and took the sample out of the drawer again, put it under a UV lamp, and it still worked. So that's how Par Plus arrived.
Great, great. Okay, so for those people who don't know yet what Par Plus is, can you please elaborate in 1 minute on Par Plus?
Sure. So we humans are becoming more and more dependent on crops from greenhouses. With our growing population in worsening climate conditions, we have to secure our food production. For this production and inside these greenhouses, the fraction of light for growth, also known as PAR, is the bottleneck. In fact, studies from Wageningen show that 1% more PAR equals 1% more production. Yet at the same time, harmful UV light is also entering this greenhouse. We have developed a greenhouse coating that converts this harmful UV light into useful PAR light. And by doing so, we can achieve up to 10% more PAR and therefore 10% more production inside the greenhouse in a fully sustainable manner by using nothing but just the sun. So to be able to achieve these goals, we're looking for 1 million euros of funding, and I'm happy to discuss collaborating at the roundtables this afternoon.
Thanks a lot for that, Sadiq. Very good time management there. Hey, listen, growers are quite familiar with having a coating on their high-tech greenhouse. So how often does your customer have to apply the coating to the greenhouse for it to convert that harmful UV light to grow light?
That's a good question. So actually, we started off with a permanent coating, which remains there for at least 15 years, 20 years, the economic lifetime of a greenhouse. But for this, the glass has to be replaced. So new glass has to be applied on the greenhouse. Now, by doing this, it actually turns out that we cannot offer our solution to all of our clients or all of the growers immediately. So we came up with a second solution, which is a sprayable coating, and that can be applied on a yearly basis on all of the existing greenhouses as well.
Thanks for the answer. We already have questions on the chat, so let's move on to one of those. Nicholas wants to know: is the 10% PAR proven to give 10% more quality yield, or an assumption that needs to be proven? So have you actually evidenced that?
Yeah, there are several studies from Wageningen University that show that this 1% more PAR equals 1% more production. Of course, this is can be further nuanced. So for separate crops, for tomatoes, it's slightly different than for cucumbers or for strawberries. But this is sort of a rule of thumb that can be used. We haven't proven this 10% more par equals 10% more production with our own technology. But the rule of thumb itself has been widely studied by many scientists.
All right. Thanks, Sadiq. Do you have a question more from the chat? Or,
Yeah, we have one more question. Fleur is asking, who will produce your coating?
Good question. So this really depends on whether we're talking about the permanent coating or the spray coating. With the permanent coating, it requires huge capital investments of large sputtering machines. And in this case, we're working together with large glass manufacturers that coat the glass directly when it comes from their glass line. And our business model will be a royalty agreement with these glass manufacturers. And currently, we're actually discussing joint development and commercialization agreements. On the other hand, for the spray coating, we're thinking about taking the production in-house. This gives us fast feedback from the market, and we are confident that we have the capability to also do this in-house.
Okay, great, Sadiq. So some in-house production and some production with partners. Thanks a lot, Sadiq, for your great pitch and for the answers. And do stay with us so the audience can meet you for a virtual drink afterwards. So those were the first 5 pitches from our startups, and we'll have 4 more coming up after the panel discussion. So please stay with us. Jan, we're going to the panel discussion right now.
Yes, we never get bored with startup pitches, but even though we created an intermezzo for you. So we discussed the impact of COVID-19 almost every day at home and at the office, of course. So we decided to have a specific perspective on the food supply chain. So we have a panel of experts, and we also like to involve the audience, of course, in joining us for this discussion. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you the moderator of this panel, Sheila Struik. Sheila Struik is venture partner at Shift Invest. Shift Invest is a venture capital firm and has an amazing portfolio. Check their website, shiftinvest.com. They invested in 30 megahertz and in Protix and in Nutrileads, all great companies. So check it out, shiftinvest.com. Sheila has a very strong opinion that panel discussions tend to be quite boring. So that's why we asked her to moderate this session. And we're also going to change the format a little bit. We're going to involve all of you. So please stay very close to the topic and ask all your questions. Give us all your opinions, and Sheila will try to incorporate all your perspectives within the discussion. So without further ado, Sheila will explain the rest and will take the lead as from now. So beam up, Sheila.
Am I beamed up, Scotty?
Yes.
You're live.
Good. I'm live. Thank you very much for those wonderful pitches. It's great to see, even in these challenging times, startups alive and kicking and trying to aim for the moon. I'm delighted to introduce my panel. Well, not my panel, your panel, basically. We have Aniek Wieringa, who is a program director for Scale Up Food. Aniek, you're there? I can hear you.
I'm here. Yeah.
Good. Then we have Mike Vermeer, Senior Innovation Manager at Cozoon. Mike.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Mike is in the clouds. And we have Joran Meijers, who is a specialist venture capital investor at Antera.
Hi guys, nice to meet you.
There you are, wonderful. I have one question to the production. I know that you also want to run the polls. In the Zoom stream, we do not have a visual of what you're doing on screen. So please talk me through whatever you want me to do with those questions. Jan?
Yes, so we can bring in the first poll.
There you go. So that's all what I need to know. No, wait a second, please. Moderating on a stage is already a challenge, but moderating people when you're sitting at least 1,000 kilometers away in a virtual room is even more challenging, but I'm sure we'll make it worth your time. Before we start, I would like to ask the panelists very briefly to explain what their company does, and more importantly, give us one example of a scale-up startup that you recently have been working with. I'll use the same order as introduction. Aniek, what is scale-up food?
Scale Up Foods is actually, it's a program within Scale Up Nation that we run together with Food Valley and Rabobank. And it's geared to scale-ups, so companies a little bit further in the growth curve than you guys. But we do sometimes actually have graduates from this program in our program. They're typically, they have their first commercial fit. They have typically between 15 and 25 FTE. And we help them go through that second hurdle, the second valley of death. And so companies we work with that have also been in this program are companies like Zero Food Waste and Nutrilist and 30 megahertz that we just mentioned as well. That was not in the program, but it was in Shift. Yeah.
Super. Look, 30 megahertz.
Yeah.
Mike, Kozun. Not everybody.
Yes.
Everybody should know Kozun, but tell us something that we don't know.
Well, hopefully a bit more people know it after today. Royal Kozun is one of the largest ag food companies in the Netherlands, actually. It's the second largest farmers cooperative. It's the mother company of 5 different organizations like Avico and Suikerunie, and many of you know that, and 3 more companies. So 4,000 people working, a little bit over 2 billion euros as a turnover. We have an heritage in technology push, so supply chain driven organization with a background of that. And we're moving to a more market driven innovation company, so to speak. And that's also why we love to work with both startups and scale-ups. And so we participate in a venture capitalist when it comes to scale-ups, and we love to work with the people of the energizing people of StartLife when it comes to startups. One of the good examples, I suppose, is we embraced 2 years ago only a small company in the startup called Green Protein. And today I'm proud to say that it's part of Kozun, and we have opened a demo plant, demo scale plant in the Netherlands in October. And we are now currently retrieving Rubisco egg white from leaves that remain on the fields during the harvest time. So that's really for us a big deal. It's a waste stream that we now utilize to get a really profitable ingredient from. And so next campaign will be also in the proof of principle part, and then we hope to move to the industrial level. So we are pretty eager to work with some more of these examples in the upcoming years, Sheila.
That's clear. Thank you, Mike. Joran?
Yep. Yeah, so I'm a specialist investor, and Terra Capital is focused on food and agriculture exclusively. We aim to invest mostly in the Series A stage of companies, so also a small step further than most of the StartLife businesses. We do this from both European as well as a US office, so both Amsterdam as well as Boston. Our food and agriculture DNA comes from our origins in Rabobank, and we on the US side we're backed by a large asset management fund called Fidelity, and we primarily look for innovation in digital across the food supply chain. So there you can think of e-commerce, software solutions, and marketplaces, and then life sciences innovation on the other side, where you can think of anything from new crop protection all the way to medical nutrition and everything that comes in between, and innovative food, those kinds of innovation areas. And Terra Capital is involved in sort of the Dutch ecosystem with F&A Next that you most of the participants will probably be familiar with. A great place where things come together, corporates, investors, and startups. And yeah, Sheila, I promised you to give one interesting example on yes, things we're working on at Entera. Stay tuned for a very exciting announcement in 2 days. I can't say too much yet. Look out for the news. One of our companies that we actually have incubated out of our Boston office will be announcing a very exciting news release. So
thank you for a sneak, which is we will stay tuned for that. Okay, so we have 3 hypotheses, or 3 basically, as we say in Dutch, stellingen, and they're all about COVID. So would you like to pull out the first statement, Jan? So we're asking you in the audience to vote with us. In the meantime, we'll be talking a little bit about it. And these are statements that I'm sure they either get a yes or a no, but what I find much more intriguing is what is actually then, what does this mean for the startups that are in this graduation ceremony? So the first statement is COVID-19 will lead to the definite breakthrough for e-commerce in Europe. Now, Joran, would you agree? Yes, no? What does it mean? Will it stay?
Yeah, I think it's very hard to completely disagree with that. I think it's a yes for me, but there's lots of things sort of on the sub level to discuss there, and I think people say yes too easily on this one. So happy to share some thoughts and perspectives on that topic.
Yeah, go.
Should I go ahead immediately? Okay, yeah,
yes,
sure,
please.
Sure. So no, I think of course it's very obvious from what's been happening that there is sort of this paradigm shift in people being comfortable with ordering food online. I think one of the key hurdles for many people was that they really wanted to see the food that they bought before they wanted to order it online. And I think the lockdown has definitely progressed people to just trying it out, and because they didn't have a choice. And you see this in online grocery booming, but also in smaller online food startups, digitally native brands in the food space. All in all, what's really changing is that people have these apps on their phones right now. They have their accounts. They will be reminded to reorder and all those things. And a lot of people have experienced that it's not so different from ordering a box of grocery than a box of whatever else you would order online, right? So that's where I believe is the structural shift. A lot of people have tried this and actually found out that it's quite easy, it's quite convenient to order food online.
And where's the however, Joran?
Yeah, I think everyone's looking for that. However, I think there's two things to keep in mind here. One is that given the very sudden surge in demand, that there's a lot of people who have experienced a negative experience from ordering online. I've read a statistic where there's now 2 times as many people are sort of less likely to reorder because of the negative experiences that they had with online food. And that's because, most of these companies did struggle to fulfill their orders. I think that, of course, that's a drop in the bucket with all those people who have tried it and will continue to keep using it. The other thing to keep in mind is more from an investor perspective is what happens long term, right? So, of course, there is this surge in demand in terms of ordering food online, and people will see the cost of acquisition of new customers decrease dramatically, almost to zero. But don't come to me fundraising with your entire pitch, your entire business plan based on your acquisition cost in these times, right? Because things will go back to normal, and things will change. So make sure that you have a normalized view. And one of the things that I would want to give to startups is if you have these customers now, make sure you invest in retention. And that's one of the key things I will be looking for. What's your normalized view? What will happen when things really cool down again? And things go back to normal.
That's a very clear point, Jan, and I can see that I can agree to that, because we're also seeing plans that are not necessarily very realistic, but maybe that's because I was born in 1965 and I've been through a couple of these. Anik, I know that you also have an opinion about this, which is it here to stay or will it disappear?
Yeah, so I'm likely to be a bit more cautious, because one of the things that I really see is that there's a recession coming. So there maybe some of the founders, actually we have quite an experienced founder team, but some of the younger people may have never seen a recession. But when a recession hits, then people don't have a lot of affordable income. And I know of my son, who is a New York pizza bicycle courier. He says, it's all students that are ordering for 10 euros a pizza. They're ordering pizzas. But at the same time, when I go to Albert Heijn, my local grocery shop, I see that they're already actually preparing to buy bulk. You see the packaging sizes really increasing. You see delisting of more premium brands. And I think we need to be careful to say, hey, the e-commerce and ordering food comes actually at a premium. And how many people also longer term will be able to afford that premium? Don't forget that over the last few months, people have been able to live on additional allowances or have still been able to live off their savings or vacation money that was not spent on a vacation. But going forward, that will change. So that's the part of e-commerce where I would say, hey, be cautious. I think what may have really changed forever is that we are now open for B2B e-commerce. So the platforms for online sales channels between businesses, that might actually have really caused a change forever. So again, caused by affordability, that's cheaper.
Okay, that's interesting because webinars have changed forever, I guess, not necessarily to stay this way, but there is a mix. Thank you so much. Jan, what is the outcome of the poll of the viewers?
Actually, Laura's behind the screen, so...
Yeah, let me share the poll with you, Sheila. So we have 67% saying yes to the poll. So 2/3 think yes, this is the definite breakthrough for e-commerce.
Okay, that's clear. Now let's go to the next one. Let's see what people say there. And COVID-19 shows that localizing food production justifies its costs. Mike? I'm going to ask you.
Thank you, Sheila. Yeah, I've been able to give it a little bit of a thinking already, of course. And what we see happening is that, of course, there is a trend of localizing the supply chain, but the overarching trend here. So the mother of this development is, we believe, the more sustainable supply chain. Right. So it's not just about local, it's about being more sustainable. Some regions are better equipped for production of food than others. And sometimes the people live in those areas that are not so much equipped to produce the food. So especially when you look at, for instance, the Netherlands, where we have a soil that is very supported for good yields, but we're also close to the harbors of Antwerp and Rotterdam, of course. We are able to ship food at not only a low cost, but also on a rather sustainable way in terms of the footprint per kg, that the yield that we can produce in the Netherlands or Northern Western Europe is much better than in certain other parts of the world. And therefore, we believe that sustainable supply chain, where we look into what kind of inputs do we need to optimize the yields and how do we create biodiversity, et cetera, is much more important than just look into local for local.
Okay, so you're saying actually don't get confused. Local doesn't mean more sustainable. That's clear. Aniek, I know that you also have a slightly different angle at this.
Yeah, I think what you actually do see based, or not only happening due to COVID, but also already before with some of the rising geopolitical tensions, is that you see that countries that are not naturally producing their own food are actually trying to ramp that up. And it's not so easy. Like if you look at a country like Singapore, they are quite ambitious in how they want to increase their nutrients that they're currently producing on that little island. But that's a challenge. And also, we're also working with, in our current program, we're working with a Nigerian company who actually has a similar, like Nigeria has actually quite a good soil. But due to all kinds of political reasons, that farming has never really been developed. But actually doing that is going to take a long time. So it might be that there's a case for localization, but it's not so easy. And it might be that indeed what you're saying, Mike, about sustainability is something. At the same time, I think also countries are more and more looking at how can I protect my own people? How can I make sure that I grow the food for them myself? But it's not going to be an overnight solution.
So this is not a clear-cut case. I think that the panel is actually saying, I'm not sure that localization of food that now justifies its cost. Laura, what is the Vox Populi saying?
The Vox Populi is quite positive. They say 58%. Yes, it does show that that it justifies its cost right now. I guess it all depends on what kind of cost you're measuring here.
I guess the key message of the answers you just received is don't look at things in isolation. Look at where the whole chain fits each other. Now, there was another very bold statement that we wanted to discuss, which is we believe that the past period of COVID-19 is pushing automation in food supply chains. Johan, what is your view there?
I hope so. But I've yet to see...
You're not convinced, right?
I'm not 100% convinced, no, because I want to see it happen. Because, of course, and also as a positive investor, I want to believe that this crisis is driving the adoption of technology tools in the food supply chain to increase automation. So both in terms of software, solving labor issues or hardware automation, robotics, you can think of transparency in the food supply chain, all those things. I would imagine that these should receive increased attention. But I also think that the food supply chain is an industry which has always been very slow to move. And I'm yet to see the big food corporates really moving, right? So I think we touched the surface here a little bit with Mike mentioning what COSIN's initiatives are on this front. But when I'm talking to startups, I'm seeing the pipeline of interesting conversations with corporates who are trying to adopt all kinds of new technologies. But I'm yet to see that pipeline convert to actual commercial contracts and all those other things that startups would actually want to see and investors would want to see. So I'm very curious, Mike, do you already have an example of something actually being changed in your company because of this crisis and working with startups very specifically?
Well, Joran, I think I can relate to that, what you're saying, Joran. So this is going to be quite a journey, but I do believe that this is going to be accelerated by COVID. We already see that one of our companies, SVZ, is in the fruit and vegetable. They source from regions in Poland, in Spain, and it's already very hard. It was before COVID very hard to get enough people to work in the harvest of the fruit, especially, which is handpicked most of the times. So there is an urgent need to automate that harvesting experience. Yeah. So that is with countries in lockdown or with the borders closed. It's going to be even more important that we're going to invest in that. It will not only be cost-driven, but it will be also quality-driven, will be yield-driven, and in the end of the day, it will also be about availability of the people that is changing in those areas where the fruits and the vegetables grow. And on the other hand, of course, when it comes to potato, one of our other huge business groups is Avico. It's already 100% automated, right? Sugar beets is automated. There's no hands involved anymore, so to speak, already for a couple of decades. So we see that now moving towards fruits, but it's complex because it's soft fruit and also for a part of the vegetables. But we would definitely be eager to support startups in that area and help them drive it to success.
And I think this is an important point. I think the truth is there's never a truth, but between Mike and Joran, I think all of the startups listening today need to realize that, yes, you may have a great solution for improving the value chain or supply chain or something else of a large incumbent, but then you need to find your way of collaborating with them, that they in the end trust working with you to redesign their processes, because you are asking a big company to change, right?
Did I hear the magic word, Sheila? Collaboration?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. What I mean, and what I mean with that is, don't wait until you're finished with your idea. Sure. Don't keep it secret because you think that it'll be stolen from you.
Yeah. Speed over property protection, I would say. Of course, you need to find those potential partners that are solid and that are also protective of your own interest. So and these are out there, of course. And to work with StartLife, that team can help you in selecting also the corporate partners or the venture partners that already have, let's say, a certain position in the market, and they will always be respectful towards the entrepreneur, I'm sure.
I think that's very, very good advice for the companies in this ceremony. And we wanted to close this panel with. Sorry, Laura, what's the Vox?
Again, 65% in favor of this thesis.
Okay, so I would argue that what the audience is more optimistic. No, is saying it'll change, but I think the questions you're hearing this panel say is, how will it work and how will it impact? And are you sure that the bigger recession is not changing the perspective? I've asked all the panelists to give one piece of advice to the graduation companies and all the others. So maybe it can be personal or business advice. Aniek, can I start with you?
Yeah, so for me, I really liked it how you put collaboration in finding collaboration and finding partners soon. What we see is that for companies that once they start hitting the road, hitting the rubber with their product, so they start to sell, they really need to change from completely being inwards focused to become outward focused. And my experience also from product innovation in corporate is the earlier you start thinking about, hey, what would be the use case of my product? How could people use it? How could it benefit their lives? And that can be 100 use cases. You don't need to get it carved in stone. But the more you start thinking about how will they be using it, how will it be dosed, who is going to benefit from it, the earlier you start with thinking about that, the faster you will get traction once you can commercialize your product. Because I know you will probably have long times for development and regulatory approvals, but that really helps.
Okay, fail fast.
Or fail fast, yeah.
Joram.
Yeah, I think one thing I always want to share whenever I'm talking to a largely European or at least not US focused crowd is of course the differences that I see between those two geographies. And sometimes what I miss with the non-US startups is this extra layer of ambition, this extra not bullshit, right? Because that's, of course, it happens quite a bit with US startups, but this extra layer of ambition, don't be afraid to pitch the bigger ambition, the bigger vision, because in the end, if you really want to attract investors, it's big chunk of that is the story that you're telling, right? So don't be afraid to tell that story.
Okay, that's clear. Mike, you already had one, but I'm sure you have another one.
Well, I just found one, Sheila. So building up what Aniek and Joran just mentioned, I would advise to all work in time on a scale-up plan. So in order to make it happen, what is your scale-up plan, and also avoid the valley of death from that perspective. So how do you see the big picture? Not just create the vision, but also what will be the milestones to get there, and who and what are you going to need in order to execute them?
Okay. That's, I think these are three wonderful pieces of advice. The only advice I would add to that is hire people that are better than you, because in the end, it's the team that makes the dream. Over to the team in the studio.
Great. Thank you so much, Sheila, Aniek, Joran, and Mike. I think you have proven that panel discussions don't have to be boring. I thought it was very interesting. Thanks a lot. Now, we've got some news for you, actually. StartLife is moving. Not to the Maldives, but we are moving into a new incubator building. It will be an 8,000 square meter building designed for scale-ups and startups, and within there will be 2,500 square meters specifically designed for early stage companies. So we will move in and we will be running our programs and facilitating our community from this building. And we do this as from November 5th. And guess what? In November, it's StartLife's 10th anniversary. So we will celebrate our birthday, and that coincides perfectly with opening up the new incubator spaces. So my piece of advice would be save the date. November the 5th will be the next StartLife party, and hopefully you might be able to join us in person, or it will be a hybrid event we anticipate. We will be hosting quite a bit of people. It's a large building, and we will hopefully also host a lot of digital community. So save the date. And we will show you a short video clip to already show you our home. It's only a 2-minute video. So enjoy and sit back. And after that, we'll move on with the startup pitches.
All right, so that seems like a connected building where a lot of valuable connections will happen. Talking about connections, we move on to our next startup, which is a company called Seed, and they're all about blockchain in the food and agri chain. Welcome, Akash. Are you with us?
Yeah, hi.
All right, great. Akash, great to have you with us. You're the start of the last four pitches we have today. Please take it away.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Akash. So, when they say safe, fair, and sustainable, how can we be really sure that these are based on actual facts? Almost 3/4 of consumers are willing to pay more for a brand that offers real transparency because they wanted to know if the brand is about real impact and not just about not using it as a tactic. We at Seed help you solve this with the help of our blockchain-based traceability tool that not only collects data for a farm-to-fork story, but also helps you assess risks in your supply chain, making them more efficient and trustworthy. We've been involved with building technologies for agri-food sector since 2013, and our European operations started in 2017. And over the years, we've worked with brands such as Unilever and NGOs such as Fair Food, Solidaridad, IDH, and certification bodies such as IndoCert and BioInspector. We are looking to raise 250,000 euros from strategic investors with good network in FMCG sector to help us scale our product development and marketing efforts.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Akash. So blockchain technology to trace the origins of food. So what kind of partners are you looking for to get Seed to the next level?
Yeah, thank you. So the partners that we're looking for is one, corporate partners who truly care about becoming a change maker in that sector so that we can work with them on pilot projects and gradually scale up to rest of their supply chains. And also since we are trying to raise the next round of funding, we are also looking for investors with some strong network in the FMCG or retail sector. Yeah.
All right. So Akash, there's quite a lot of blockchain companies out there. So what is your USP?
Yeah, for us, I don't think technology alone is a uniqueness for a company. So we are not scientists. But I come from India. We've grown up among farms and farmers, and we kind of know supply chains inside out. So for us, what we're good at is implementation. So if you say blockchain is Microsoft Windows, we are the ones who built Microsoft Excel. We make sure that these are practical because you cannot go to a farmer and say or talk about blockchain. They won't understand a thing. So we are the ones who build the tech layer so that even farmers can participate in technologies using blockchain.
Great explanation, very clear. Do we have any questions from the audience?
No questions yet from the audience. So let's start with another question for you. Seed has its own marketplace. Akash, can you explain how that works?
Yeah. So what we do is we have on one side we build the tech, and then we demonstrate how the tech works through our own marketplace of farmers co-owned food brands. So in that marketplace, what we do is we end-to-end tech enable a supply chain, and we help farmer cooperative launch their own co-owned product into markets such as in Europe. So this not only demonstrates how our technology works and how practical it is, but at the same time helps farmers earn like 4 times more than what they get in a conventional slave-free or fair trade supply chains.
Right, great initiative. We have the questions rolling into the chat right now, so I'll just take one. Benjamin McLean is asking, Akash, can you give an example in what parameters the tool can create transparency or traceability?
Yeah, so there are several factors. So the basic factor is about how much is being transacted from one actor to the other and what is the amount. So that's the basic layer of traceability. And the second layer is about the certifications that happens with all these actors. So in our tool, you can log this certification data, and it's using this certification data that we predict the risks involved in the supply chain. So yeah, these are the basic things that you can log into our system.
Yeah, great. Another interesting question here from Harro de Moor from Rijkswaan. Is it possible to add information such as CO2 or chemicals footprint?
Yeah, of course. For us, in our system, there are different types of certifications and certifications or claims. It can be about being sustainable, it can be about bio, and it can also be about being carbon neutral. Yeah, so such claims can be carried over through the supply chain to finally showcase to your consumers.
Okay, great. Thanks, Akash. Thanks for the great pitch and for the answers. And we see you after the event for a drink.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on now to time traveling milkman, something totally different. Are you with us, Dimitris?
Hello from my side.
Hey, there you are. Hey, Dimitris, I understood that you were stuck in Greece for some time during lockdown. You couldn't produce any samples. So, how are you doing right now?
Thankfully, I'm back in the Netherlands. But we still have some issues with access in the labs because, now that not so many people are allowed in the lab at the same time. So we are also struggling to see how it will work out the next months, but also that's a general concern from the university, I would say.
Right, let's hope that things will open up soon again. Are you ready to pitch for us, Dimitris?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, take it away.
Hello from Time Traveling Milkman. We are a B2B company producing and selling fat ingredients for sustainable and appetizing dairy alternatives. Dairy alternatives are a good solution for a green future, also for animal cruelty. Have you tried dairy alternatives? Well, if you have, like me, you might have noticed that they are not as appetizing and creamy as traditional dairy. What can be done in order to improve these products and show the full potential? In order to satisfy our senses together with our consciousness, adding our creamy ingredients. In Time Traveling Milkman, we have developed a proprietary technology for the production of natural and creamy ingredients from plant seeds. Including our ingredients in our customers' recipes, we'll produce dairy alternatives that will satisfy even the most skeptical consumer, and therefore produce the not-so-guilty pleasures of our future. Interested to know more? Please contact us. Thank you.
Great pitch, Dimitris. Thank you for that.
Dimitris, I actually remember one of our business angels congratulating you on the fact that you're trying to sell cheese to a Dutchman. But you're actually not selling cheese, are you? You're selling natural fat ingredients for dairy alternatives. So what do you consider yourself to be? Are you a ingredient supplier or are you a licensing company?
An ingredient supplier. We have figured out that the missing component in order to make indeed dairy alternatives tasty is the fat, is the guilty ingredient that makes everything tasty. And we can provide the plant-based and creamy ingredient to the companies that want to produce nice and sustainable dairy alternatives.
All right. So Dimitris, is there any specific product that you're targeting first, or are you going to target all dairy alternatives at the same time? What is your strategy that you have in mind on that?
Initially, we started working with creamy products. I mean more semi-solid, I would say, because our initial ingredient was in creamy state. So we started with spreads and also some creamy fresh cheeses that they don't have so compact structure, let's say. And then with the knowledge that we will gain from this type of products, we would like to move into more solid-like products like Gouda cheese or feta and these kinds of products, yes.
Yeah, thanks. Interesting.
Okay, I have a very interested client here on the chat. Stefania Belayo wants to know, when can you produce and ship samples and in what quantities?
Currently, we are developing our MVPs, and we would like to file for more patents until the end of the year. But the actual production will happen, we believe, towards the end of next year. So when it comes to samples and trials, yes, we can do it from September on, I would say, after summer and all the COVID situation. We hope that it will calm down. The actual production next year.
And which applications have you already validated?
We are validating creamy cheeses, so soft structure. Yeah.
Interesting. So, Dimitris, you're raising $500,000. How are you thinking to spend this money? Like, you already elaborate a little bit on that. We want to invest in IP, but what are you specifically going to spend the money on?
Indeed, it will be in the patent filing, because the more and more findings we will have from our MVP development, we like to protect ourselves with these ingredients that they have never been used before in food. So we like to do that. Of course, we want to expand the team. We are currently only 2, and we would like to have more people and advance faster. And also we like to spend it for pilot trials. And this is an expensive step that will show us also what is the potential of upscaling and establishing a continuous process.
Yeah, thank you. Do we have any last burning questions from the chat?
Yeah, let's take the final question from the chat. Howard de Moor is wondering if it's interesting to combine this with the Rubisco proteins that Kozan was just talking about.
It's interesting to check this possibility, but I would say that our ingredients already contain quite a lot of protein because we don't care to just be pure fat ingredients. We also co-extract a lot of plant proteins from the source that we start. So we can also regulate the ratio between proteins and fats. So that would be already enough, I believe, but in case there is more protein needed because sometimes dairy alternatives are protein deficient, it would be nice to add from an external source.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dimitris, for your time today, and we'll see you at the virtual drinks. Moving on to the next commodity, or food products, we can say better, which is salmon. I think we have Rob with us. Rob, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, great. Rob, please enlighten us about your revolutionary idea on bringing salmon to land.
Okay, thank you, Lut. So for the introduction, my name is Rob Dogmans, one of the founders behind Van Holland Salm. And with Van Holland Salm, we are actually becoming the first 100% Dutch land-based salmon farm. And here we're providing our local markets with a more healthy, sustainable and ultra-fresh salmon product from the farm nearby. So we will farm our salmon from egg to market size, and including processing of fillets, all under one roof. And yeah, we want to do that in a transparent and responsible way. And hereby applying improved technologies called recirculating aquaculture systems. And in this way, we are able to control and optimize our culture environment up to the best possible and optimize our sustainability aspect, but also on circularity. So one of our facilities will produce around 1 million kilograms of salmon per year. That represents around 5 to 10% of the Dutch demand in one facility. And at this moment, we have a location secured, we have our strategic partnerships in place, our technology is ready, and our offtake agreements are in the process. And for us, for now, we are looking for strategic investors who want to join our exciting rollout.
Great, thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you very much. Hey, land-based sustainable salmon production. So how sustainable is your salmon compared to traditional agriculture?
Yeah, good question. So our business case is primarily focusing on sustainability. So the first step is already our CO2 footprint. So we have tremendous reduction on the CO2 footprint of 75% due to the optimized production chain and also due to the limiting, taking out the transport. Furthermore, we have an 80% higher efficiency regarding limiting the use of limiting resources due to the reduction of mortality compared to our traditional salmon production sector. We have no chance of escapement, which preventing destruction of all populations. We can farm without antibiotics and chemicals, and we are aiming for full circularity integration, so with the local agri-food system. So all our electricity storage, sludge water treatment, all our byproducts are used in the local agri-food system, and we are searching for, how can we use byproduct from a local agri-food system in our own application.
Great. Thanks, Rob. I think we have a question from the chat coming in, Laura.
Yeah, we do. What experience do you or your partners have with recirculating agriculture systems in the past?
So right now we have a team of 150 years of collaborative experience. So I have a master's degree in aquaculture and specifically with salmon farming. We are working together with the Aquaculture and Fisheries Department from the University of Wageningen, which is actually recognized as one of the founding fathers behind this technology. We have aquaculture nutritionists. We have some people who farmed multi-species already for a certain amount of years. So we actually are backed with a sufficient amount of experience, I would say.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot, Rob, for that answer. So another one. Irma Borst wants to know, what do you expect from strategic investors?
So we are running a capital intensive investment, actually. So it is a good business. And we are looking to a healthy financial mix. So both strategic investors and bank loans and funding. And from strategic investors, we want to have them sustainability focused mindset, and also some who bring experience within the agri-food industry as well. So depending on the investor themselves, some focusing on subject matter experts, so who are earlier invested in agriculture itself, or some in the nutrition side or sustainability side.
Great, thanks, Rob. Do we have one more questions from the chat?
I think we're ready for the next one.
Maybe one more question, Rob. I was wondering, let's say, I think in traditional aquaculture in Southeast Asia or other parts of the world, diseases are a big problem. So for those who are not familiar with land-based salmon farming, how do you avoid diseases in your, let's say, facility?
Yeah, so it starts with your facility itself. So proper biosecurity is key. And the other part is water quality. So the technology that we're using is in an optimized manner, set to the highest water quality standards at best. But also your animal welfare and high work rate for animals. Stress is a very major factor causing disease outbreaks in your facility. So both technology and animal husbandry should work in hand, and that's how you can avoid diseases.
All right, thanks, Rob.
Fantastic, Rob. Thanks a lot for your time, and please stay with us. We're gonna go to our next startup, which is actually last but definitely not least, Next Cotton Solutions. Ewout.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Ewout. I'm one of the co-founders of Next Cotton Solutions.
Great, Ewout, are you ready? Yeah, are you ready to take it away?
Yes, I'm ready.
Great, go for it.
So, the textile industry is the second polluting industry after oil. 10% of the worldwide carbon footprint is caused by the textile industry and the use of its garments. At the end of use, over 90% of the garments ends up on landfills and in incinerators. Recycling of cotton-based textile is difficult due to the plastics in it. Besides polyester, finishes, indigo, and dyes, a pair of jeans also contains elastane. Together with Wageningen University and research, we have found a way to dissolve the elastane in a way that the cotton fibers are minimally harmed. This unique process and recipe is filed in a worldwide patent to be published this summer. The timing is on our side. Research shows that consumers are willing to pay for sustainable solutions. And second, big brands like Levi's have promised to start a serious recycling of cotton when a solution to dissolve the plastics in jeans becomes available. We want to scale our solution, this patent, from petri dish to demo plant, and complete the formula with a dissolving of polyester, finishes, and indigo. Therefore, we need to do some more research. We are looking for an investment of €1.5 million and a CTO to complete our team. And that CTO should be better than us. Thanks.
Good. I think you're already listening to the advice of Shira. Great.
Yes.
That's very fast learning. So, Ewout, I'm wondering, what are you looking to what type of partners are you looking to collaborate with? Because the chain from, let's say, cotton plant until a pair of jeans is quite long. So who are you actually going to partner with?
I think we've chosen it's a very good question, because that has been in our mind for the past few months and during this incubator program. We've chosen in the end for a co-creation model, because the value chain was not able to solve this problem by itself. It's a huge problem, and it's really strange that it is not solved yet. So that means that we are looking for industry partners that wants to start working with our technology and assist us on our follow-up research. This is, for example, a waste collector, a chemicals solvent producer, a fiber producer, and in the end, of course, retailers. Through this co-creation model, we can accelerate our research and increase the technological acceptance of our solutions. Why? in the end, we want to shorten the time to market. So we are looking for those industry partners. And please step up and raise your finger at our roundtable.
Great, thanks, Ewout.
Thanks, Ewout. So another question. We don't have a lot of questions on the chat yet, so I'll just ask another question. Are consumers willing to pay a premium for jeans from 100% recycled cotton?
Yes, they are. We found out that our research that a lot of people are willing to pay extra for sustainable solutions. I think those group is increasing. If you prepare to, we also like to do it after the COVID period. I think everybody knows that there's something going on with our climate and we need to change it. And one of the main causes of our climate problems are increasing population, but also the use of farmland for cotton. And the third part is fast fashion, still growing. So everybody understands that we need to change this around.
Excellent. So you're saying the time is now. One more question from the chat. So when will the first jeans with your recycled cotton be on the market?
That's a good question. I think we need, the problems we're facing with all the plastics in it, they are increasing because they are putting more plastics in it. By the end of next year, we will find the formula and we have the proof of concepts then ready according to our program in the beginning of 2022. So hopefully at that time, and I can tell you, my children cannot wait, then we have the first piece of garment and preferably first pair of jeans.
All right, thank you, Ewout. This was the last of the 9 startup pitches that we had today. 9 was a lot of startup pitches for this afternoon, but also a lot of startup pitches for our team to handle in the last 3 months. But I have to say we're really proud with the progress that everybody made. And we're now actually moving on. We just wanted to highlight that these 9 startups are not the only startups that we support. These are actually startups that are in a very early phase. They come with us with the technology. They have some market in mind, but they actually don't know which market they want to target yet. And they are still pivoting around, so to say. We have a tradition during the graduation day at StartLife to present also an alumni of us. This is also not the alumni that is the largest company and the scale up in our portfolio yet. I mean, we have supported over 300 startups, and these startups have raised over 118 million of funding over the last 10 years. So the startup that you're about to meet is actually a startup that actually graduated last year from our cohort, and is really revolutionizing the greenhouse in itself. So I'm more than pleased to get Geoffrey on the show today. Geoffrey is the COO of Saya, and is actually interesting to tell us how he came to Saya, but also what Saya is doing. Geoffrey, are you with us?
I am, live from my garden. First, I want to make a confession. I didn't personally participate in the program. The founders of Saya, Ruud and Bart, they did. You can see them on the picture. They're real specialists with almost 30 years of experience in agrobotics. And the program really helped them to focus on a very good business case. And in that way, it helped them to develop a leaf harvesting robot for cucumbers and tomatoes. Saya got founded and funded last summer, and they consider that the moment for agrobotics is now, and I completely agree with them. My name is Joffrey van den Berg. I joined Saya at the beginning of this year, and we thought this might be a good moment to introduce myself to the StartLife community. Last year, I sold my company. You can see an example of what I made in the bottom left corner. It's from the company Flowit. It's an Eindhoven University spin-off, also a Dutch university. And Flowit got highly disruptive chemical reactor technology implemented in the fine chemical and pharmaceutical industry, including top 3 pharma is now using our equipment to actually produce APIs. And Flowit is able to really reduce the size of equipment. So we can scale a factory the size of a football field down to a container. As I told you, I sold my company and I was on the lookout for a new endeavor. And Sebastian Berendsen was so kind to introduce me with Saya. The logical question would be, what has reactor technology to do with greenhouses and robotics? Well, and the answer is pretty simple. They really benefit both from controllability over the process. And on the next slide, you can see that especially high-tech greenhouses are extremely efficient in the use of water, land, pesticides, and fertilizers. And at Saya, we believe we can push these limits even further. There's only one big problem, and it was also mentioned by Mike Vermeer from Kozen, and that's labor availability. And especially on days like this, you don't want to work in a greenhouse with temperatures up to 35 degrees combined with very high humid conditions. It's very harsh to work around there. So robotics seems to be the logical answer. And Saya started last fall with an innovation experiment that was funded by the European Union for the Agrobo Food Program. And we developed a prototype robot leaf picking robot within 1 year. And at the end of my talk, I will present you a short video. So wait for that about a minute. A fundamental requirement was a positive business case for the growers. And the program provided us with some key insights. And that is that the cultivation system and the plant should be optimized for robotics to be really successful. And this resulted in a completely new concept, which I can't disclose at this moment, but with significant business case improvements. And currently we are looking for additional funding to develop the correct and the optimized cultivation system and breeding program to combine for our robotics. Within Saya, I'll focus on partnerships and funding, and I'm really looking forward to meet you in person, but probably we will have to do it by phone in the meanwhile. I hope you enjoy the video and we will keep you posted.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Saya Agrobotics. So now this is the opportunity you all have been waiting for. You can apply for the next StartLife Accelerate program, the fall 2020 cohort. The deadline is August the 3rd, and we will kick off the accelerated program at the end of September. So please apply before the deadline. It will be a hybrid low residency program open for international startups in food and agriculture. Now, I want to couple of few more words about the network app because we are entering into the last minute of this show. Be surprised how easy it is to connect into the virtual network lounge, and you will be surprised because it will have some functionalities that you've never seen before. So please check it out. You can choose to either go to one of the startup roundtables, but you can also choose just to mingle around and connect to one of the investors, corporates, or startups. The chat of the online event will stay open for another 5 minutes to help anyone who doesn't manage to get into the virtual lounge, so stay tuned. I hear you asking, how do I get into the virtual network lounge? Okay, step one. In a minute, after we end the show, we will show you a clickable link. Just hit the link and you will go to a browser. You will enter the code of the event, which is SLA4, and you're in. pimp your profile or connect with your LinkedIn profile and you're ready to go. A last big thank you to all the entrepreneurs, the brave of heart, that's what we do it for, and a big thank you to the StartLife team. We all share the same passion. And thanks for all the blood, sweat and tears. Thanks for all the fun and joy. And goodbye everyone. See you in the lounge. Thank you all for joining us.